I've got a review for you today, and it is for A Darker Shade of Magic by V.E. Schwab. So this book is about sort of other worlds connected to our world, I guess I'll say. And in these other worlds, there is magic. The main characters are a girl from our world and then a young man from another world who can travel in between all the worlds. So yeah, I feel like that's the best synopsis I can give. So moving on to the plot. The reason why I can't give a amazing synopsis. The plot was not bad by any means, but it was definitely not what kept me reading. I guess it just felt like a lot of setup is the best way for me to say this. It just felt like a lot of setup. There was, a mission, and the idea was, I guess, to get this item that was out of the world it's supposed to be in, because there are several worlds, and it was to get it back to the world it was supposed to be in, but then people didn't want that, and so there was a fight, and just this whole thing of finding out who didn't want it and how this happened and how it got out of the world in the first place. But in all honesty, to me, the plot just did feel like a lot of setup. It felt like if this was a book, like a standalone book, then I would have rated it much lower, because this plot was not satisfying to me, I guess is the best way of saying it. So yeah, I guess the plot was underwhelming. If you're a big plot reader, this might be a disappointing one for you. However, the world building was definitely the biggest strength for this book. The idea for this world is that it's kind of, I guess, a portal sort of fantasy, but only for specific people, which I guess is true for a lot of portal fantasies. But basically, there are 4 different worlds, and they all have a city called London, and it's kind of the connecting point, I guess. They all have a city called London, and it is the capital of some country or kingdom or whatever. And one of the main characters can travel in between all 4 of these worlds. And he kind of has like names for each of the Londons just to keep them straight in his head. One is called Black London, and it is known as Black London, just across the board by everybody, because apparently some big bad thing happened with magic there. We don't know what, it just bad things happened there and kind of killed off everything. And so that is Black London. It is the reason why the worlds are locked off for everyone. And then the way that the worlds are set up, it's like they're kind of all next to each other, kind of like bread slices, I guess, or books or any other thing. Don't know why I went to bread slices. But so the next one is called White London. It's a London that has magic, but it's kind of leeching away. And then next to White London is Red London, that is a world with magic, a healthy amount of magic, and it's kind of just the best case scenario, I guess, for a magical world. And then on the other side of Red London is Grey London, which is our world. I believe it's in the 19th century, if I remember correctly, but basically kind of back Victorian-esque era. I'm not right about this, but back then at some point, kind of a, yeah, that's the vibe that I got. It names the king that is the king at the time, so I could look it up, but I've forgotten. And it really isn't that important to the plot, I guess. Basically, it's in the past, not modern times. And so, yeah, the world building is very fascinating, having these 4 different worlds all with a city called London, which is very interesting because they don't even all have England or the UK or even like Europe. The land masses are apparently the same, but the kingdoms and countries are completely different. But for some reason, the city is London in every single world, which is really cool to me. And I really hope that we find out why London is so special at some point in this series. But yes, the world building is definitely what kept me going and is definitely why I am going to pick up the next book, because I am very curious, very interested. It's a very fascinating idea. I love it. All right. And then lastly, the characters. So the 2 main characters are Lila Bard, who is the young lady from our world. I believe she's in her late teens. And then Kel, who is a young man from the Red London, so the one with the healthy magic system. Kel is able to travel between all the worlds because he is a special type of magic user called and I think it's an Antari or Antari. And because of this, he is able to use all the magics and travel between worlds. It's basically elemental magic, basically like Avatar, which is why I have earthbender earrings on today. But it's basically like Avatar The Last Airbender, where it's elemental magic sort of thing. And he is able to control all the elements as well as travel between worlds. This is a very rare thing. There is only one other Antari within the story. And so yeah, he's an alright character. I didn't dislike him at all. He was a little, I guess, unremarkable. His magic is almost his entire personality. He has a little bit of a conflict within himself because when he was very young, and I guess his powers came forth or were realized by the royal family, he was basically abducted from his family and raised by the king and queen, because Antari are able to travel between the worlds and are able to communicate between the worlds, and that's very important for rulers to have on hand. But basically, yeah, he was abducted as a child. He has no idea who he was before, I think, maybe the age of 5. He has no memories whatsoever. And so he kind of has a little internal conflict of, these people are kind to me, but they kidnapped me, and I kind of feel like I'm just a tool to them sometimes. And I think that he has potential for growth in the series, but there wasn't any in this book. The other main character is Lila Bard. She grated me. Okay, I guess I should just go on and summarize her character first. She is kind of a rough and tumble character. She's very sly. She's very sneaky. She's kind of selfish and self-centered, and everything that she does is so that she can get ahead and get out of her life, which makes sense. She's poor and she kind of has to scrap to survive. And so she's trying very hard to get to the point where she's not just living to survive anymore, where she's living to be what she wants to be, which is the captain of a ship. She wants to be a pirate, I guess. And just the amount of her self-centeredness very much got on my nerves, as well as just some aspects of her personality just really grated me. But I think the self-centeredness sums it up very well. Everything that I disliked about her character kind of comes back around to her just only thinking of her. And she does grow some. She does have some development to a degree. But in the end, I think I was just so annoyed by her that even with her growth and development, it wasn't enough for me to forgive the annoyance from earlier. I'm hoping that since she has 2 more books, I believe 2 more books, I think this is a trilogy, since she has 2 more books to develop and grow, I'm hoping that her future growth will make me like her more, because she is the type of character that I want to like. I like scrappy people who kind of are underdogs and persistent and you know, get the better of the system because they get out of the system, and I like that. I do. But just a lot about Lila Bard rubs me the wrong way. And those are the 2 main characters. There are several side characters that were honestly rather flat, but I hope to see more growth. But all in all, in this book alone, I didn't love any of these characters. They could live or die for all I care, and it was a situation where if everyone died at the end of this book and the next book was about completely different characters, I probably wouldn't have cared. Which, I mean, I'm sorry, that sounds so harsh, but I just can't. All right. So yes, all in all, I didn't hate this book. I don't want it to come off like this book was awful. I do plan to read the rest because I see a lot of potential in this book at the end of the day. And I do look forward to reading the rest of the series. But this first book was definitely not something I would have enjoyed at all if it were a standalone. Because I think that the potential that it brings forward is kind of its big yes to me, if that makes sense. So yeah, I hope this review is helpful to you, and feel free to comment below. Let me know what you thought of this book, especially if you've read this series before. Let me know if it does improve, because I am excited to go forward. And yeah, I will see you around.